news when facts matter, no doubt. We shout the truth and lay it out. No cover-ups, no falsehoods in our place. Just honest reporting, setting the pace. While others soft pedal, we dig for the scoop. Giving you the facts and closing the loop. We don't dress it up, we don't look away. We call it like it is, come what may. Every news, every news. When facts matter, no doubt. Every news, every news. We shout the truth out loud. We shout the truth. We don't back off, God. We don't back off. We let the headlines hit hard.
Greetings, my Everett friends. Good to be able to reach out and speak to you again. Since the last time that we've been online here in the podcast, we were under Everett Reinvented. I had chose that name going into the election season last year, principally because I thought Everett really needed to be reinvented. But fortunately, we are going a long way towards that goal. And the residents of Everett came to their senses and elected Robert Van Campen, the new mayor, whom we're going to talk to in a minute, but I just want to share a few quick updates first. As you see, the new name here is Everett News. I have been incorporating under the name of Everett News Now, LLC, and we have a very successful, I have a very successful Facebook page going on over there in Facebook land, which I hope you'll stop over and visit. In support of that, I've launched a new website. It's live now. It's still under, some parts are still under construction, but you can find that at everettnewsnow.com. You'll see the featured videos, news stories. There is a events section. On the menu bar, you'll observe you can go to classified ads and property rental listings. There will be an archive section for older news stories and videos, and just a whole bunch of good stuff. As I said, the Facebook page is taking off like crazy. I just can't believe, the number of visits we're getting over there. So come on over, give us a like, give us a share, and tell your friends. In the meantime, let's go ahead and spin the dial here and pop on over to the green room and talk to our honored guest, Mayor Robert Van Campen. Unless my eyes deceive me, it's
Let me go with it, Mr. Rice.
Robert Van Campen. How are you, sir?
How are you this fine day?
I'm great for an old boy. Hey, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy.
No. I'm glad to do this.
First of all, I'm very jealous on whoever's covering your social media because they're doing a great job. Is that Chris Conley doing that?
No, we let our communications team is putting that together. They're doing like a really good work, and again, the reason why I want to do this with you, Walter, was because this is how we can engage with the community. So I did want to say before we start, I don't even know if we're recording, but before we start, I did want to say to you on a sort of a personal level, first of all, some may not know that you're the former VSO for the city of Everett. And, I do want to thank you both for your service to the country and your service to our Everett veterans during your tenure. And that is something I wanted to note for this purpose today.
Appreciate it.
And I also want to just thank you for engaging the community through this platform, right?
Well,
in a way, hopefully that spurs meaningful, intelligent conversations about the real issues facing the city today.
Sure, and absolutely. Your arrival and your administration has set the stage for that to happen. I'm very, very happy. As you may or may not have been able to see, I'm now branded under Everett News, and we get a Facebook page, and I've got a website set up. And I got to tell you that the views are going off the charts. I reposted something this morning that was seen last week, and it's already had 3,000 views. And I anticipate the podcast is going to do the same thing because it's plugged into the same audience. In any event, um, uh, you and I had the chance to talk just before the election. Well, a little bit before the election, anyway. And it was those were tense moments for you. You were working very hard, and I also want to note, by the way, that the ER2 statistician back in August picked you at 11 to 14% for victory, and I was that statistician, by the way. Wasn't exactly a scientific poll that I did, but I did use some numbers, and I think you wound up 9% on top, right?
You were very close.
Yeah.
But don't forget, I was outspent, 10-1.
Oh, absolutely.
So you may have actually been under projections had the fundraising competitiveness been more equal.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, money talks, and not to digress on that subject, but the predecessor is, he's still money seeking. I see text messages going out for donations for defense funds and all that. But that's the past. I really want to talk about the future. So,
likewise,
what I would really like to help the viewers and residents of Everett get a sense of is basically what you faced in the last 6 months. I mean, you came into office like anybody going into a new endeavor, even though you've been around the business for a long time, with expectations, hopes, and probably a lot of worries in this and that. So I'm wondering how that all balanced out for you in the last 6 months. If you could kind of give me an overview of what the highlights were, the lowlights were, and things like that. But I want to put a little bit of a caveat and compound the question, as I'm prone to do, is one thing that stood out to me was, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but you tried to explain to me in private conversation at one point that, well, the residents may be hoping for a lot, and they want to come in. I'm going to trim all the fat. I'm going to do all this, which of course at the end of the day would drive what your budget numbers are at the proposal, and that's something, of course, you just went through on the budget proposal. But you explained to me, and I'll be cliche or use a comparison, is that the residents need to understand that the cure might be more painful than the disease itself. And for example, you cited, some things that were neglected, some systems that were dysfunctional, and what have you. And you cited the group health insurance the city employees pay, and it was neglected for a long, long period of time. And that was a catch-up thing that you had to do with union contracts and what have you. And there was, no mistake, and that was going to drive your budget numbers up. And of course, at the end of the day, that impacts what you're going to be assessing for your taxes. So if you could go along and just incorporate some of that into your first 6 months, tell us how it's going.
Yeah. So I will say, it's a role that it's if there were a word higher than it's an honor, I would use it for this conversation. But it is an honor to be in this role, and I view this as a steward, that I'm a steward of the trust that the people of Everett have placed in me and my team now to manage the affairs of the city for the next 4 years. And so in the very beginning, my first order of business was to assemble an experienced, talented leadership team, and I have done that. And one of the things I do hear a lot of in the community, and we could talk about this a little bit later on, is that when I ran on an agenda for change, and some people on the outside may not feel like that change is fully sort of established at this point. That's not entirely inaccurate, but it's also not accurate. So part of the change coming in on day one was to bring a senior leadership team in. So if you look today at the city solicitor's office, if you look at the human resources department, if you look at our finance division, if you look at the mayor's executive team, if you look at our sort of planning and economic development functions, if you look at our Department of Public Works, I brought experienced municipal officials into key roles, because that to me was the first order of priority that the people of Everett elected me to address. I've done that, and I'm proud to say we've got a great leadership team. You've probably been following some of the news, and we just brought in a new director of information technology who started this past Monday, Nora Valentine, and she's off the ground already, doing a great job. So there was assembling the right people around me, Walter, to make sure that we were managing the city properly. And then there was, go ahead.
They're heavy hitters too. And again, I'm purposely trying to avoid looking in the rearview mirror. But yeah, there was so many different appointments that happened in the past where the people, some people definitely didn't belong in the position. They had not even remote qualifications for these things. Conversely, the team that you have assembled there, they are heavy hitters. I have looked at resumes. I have even made some phone calls because I'm inquisitive like that.
Yeah.
And these people are very heavy hitters. And along those lines, I want to make a note. If I am correct, interim veteran service officer, my old position is Paul Landry.
Correct. Yeah, Paul's the interim VSO for the time being while we look for a permanent replacement.
Another great pick. Yeah, another fabulous pick. I mean, all around, it's been great. So, yeah, go ahead. You assembled your team.
So we assembled this team, and they're doing a great job. But in assembling a great team, I knew we were going to confront great challenges. Right. So one of the things that has been another sort of top priority is our finances. And we have identified deficiencies in some of our accounting practices. We've identified some flaws in our systems, both finance and in our technology systems. And so we're working as quickly as we can. And I will say for you and for the folks that are going to watch this, that the government doesn't run as fast as I would like it to. I would, like any other resident of the city of Everett, would love to see these things happen faster than they are. But that, unfortunately, is not how government operates currently. So
I worked with you, so I know your demand for efficiency. I mean, you
Yes.
are a very, very coordinated person. You have attention
Correct.
to detail.
And if you're here if you were here in the building, you'd hear me say to more than one person, more than once a day, this is not happening fast enough. So we're implementing new systems in our finance division. Mm-hmm. We have an incredible interim auditor, Bill Fowler, who has decades of experience in municipal finance, who has really been working with our finance team, with Omar Wakili, our chief administrative and financial officer, to really right some of the flaws that we discovered in the system. So they're working on that, and they're doing a great job at that. We also, as I mentioned earlier, we brought in our new director of information technology, and she's confronted with daunting challenges of her own because our systems are so antiquated. And the reason I wanted to highlight this piece, Walter, was because I view the use of technology here at City Hall as critical to my ability to communicate with the people of Everett, but also even more critically, to give the people of Everett greater access to their government. And go ahead.
Along those lines, I just want to throw in so you can understand that I'm very sympathetic and empathetic to the challenges that your IT director is going to face. Next week, I'll receive my degree in digital media.
Okay, congratulations.
College. Yeah. So, hence the reason you're seeing a lot of this uptick in the stuff I'm doing. But go ahead, you hired your IT director.
So we're working on those systems. We're like small things. For example, the city has a fuel pump at Public Works in the facility, and there has never, and I came into office and learned that there was no gauge on the fuel pump, so we couldn't track who was fueling up what vehicles. So now we're implementing a system that will track every ounce of gasoline coming out of those pumps, every ounce of diesel coming out of those pumps. Take-home vehicle policies. Just on Monday, it became effective. We implemented a take-home vehicle policy where I have now strictly limited take-home vehicles to basically 3 people in our entire organization. The Director of Public Works, on the non-public safety side, only the Director of Public Works has a take-home vehicle because obviously by virtue of that role, the fire chief and the police chief do as well. And there are some public safety take-home vehicles that still remain. But overall now we have effectively eliminated take-home vehicles for non-public safety departments. And the reason we had to do that was because the city's fuel costs are exploding. One way to control it was to keep those vehicles in the city of Everett, thereby reducing fuel expenses. We had some employees taking them great distances home at night and coming back in the morning. And to me, it just didn't make, from a cost benefit standpoint, it just didn't make sense for the city. One other thing, big ticket item, you mentioned it already, that we're working to tackle in the first several months here, is municipal health insurance. In the FY27 budget, the current budget, you probably have seen it already, our municipal health insurance line item is $41 million. The budget is $312 million. That line item by itself increased $6 million over FY26. And what I will say is that I am grateful to every union in the city who is willing to come to the table and have a conversation with me about how to solve this great financial pressure on the city today. We've begun those conversations, but the city can't sustain a $6 or $7 million increase in health insurance year after year after year, because at some point it starts to cut into my ability to deliver real services to the people of Everett. So that's kind of this sort of snapshot. My hope is with health insurance, some solution can be found in the next several months where we may not be able to cut the line item, but we can avoid the huge increases going forward.
Yeah, also along those lines of development, different things. I do know that there's been a petition and some state legislation that actually relates to this, but I know a request was put in that the city adopt yearly Corey checks on city employees. And a couple of people I know have been working and trying to communicate on that matter, and they don't seem to be feeling any progress. Do you have any sense? Is that a subject that is going to be pushed forward? Is the city going to try to look at something like that?
I don't know on the legislative side how that process is unfolding currently. I can tell you that before an employee is hired by the city of Everett, they do undergo a Corey.
Yeah. But I think this was the request was directed more at the public safety, people that have direct contact. But not to get off on that tangent. I've just been talking to a couple of different people, and I know that dialogue was going on, but it not to really put words in somebody's mouth, but it seems to have stalled. I mean, it doesn't seem to be progressing.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll mention about sort of the first 6 months in office, one of the things that I mentioned in passing during the campaign was the possibility of, or taking a hard look at our city finances to see if there was room for a $5 or $10 million reduction in the city budget as we approach the FY27 budget. And, we went through that theoretical exercise. The dilemma that you run into when you try to cut is it's like trying to push a float under the water and keep it there. So looking at which department you're going to cut in order to make up $5 or $10 million in cuts, you start to cut not just services, but you start to cut entire structures that the people of Everett have grown to rely on. Code enforcement, parking enforcement. And by the way, code enforcement and parking enforcement, if done right, are revenue generating departments. They can be revenue generating departments. While that shouldn't be their priority should be to enforce our ordinances, enforce our codes, and make sure people are following the law. They could be revenue generating departments. So I wanted to mention this to you because one of the things I've discovered because of health insurance, because of fixed costs, and fixed costs don't go away. I mean, they don't go away for my wife and I when it comes to our mortgage or our tuition payments or our car payments or our electric bill or your gas bill or whatever. Although you're in South Carolina, right? Your gas bill might not be as high as mine these days.
No,
but
not at all.
I digress. But
I don't have to ask.
the point is those fixed costs I can't cut those. They have to, in order to operate the city properly, in order to continue to invest in parks and roads and underground utilities and infrastructure and technology and our buildings, I have to continue to make those investments over time and try to do it in a responsible way. So what I have learned in the first 6 or so months is that making cuts that drastic are simply not possible.
So what you're telling me is a single cut in a central area has a parasitic drain on
Correct. Correct.
other areas.
I could take the position that if the city's, if the Department of Code Enforcement, is a $1.2 million department, if you include salaries, etc., or a little more than that, I could say, all right, I'm going to cut that. Mm-hmm. But if I cut the entire department, what happens?
Right.
What happens then? If I cut parking enforcement, what happens? If I start to scale back on our public safety investments, what happens?
Let me see if I'm following. So if you cut parking enforcement, you're probably on the back end increasing standard patrols for police officers. You're going to pay overtime and things like that.
So it's one of those where in a sort of a 21st century government, we need these tools in order to continue my goal of becoming a thriving urban community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One of the big problems I see, and I'm sure this comes into your first 6 months of vision and experience too, is trying to develop the commercial tax base to offset the burden on the homeowner, and part of that, of course, is the Everett Square area and things like that. And I kept mulling this over in my head, thinking, how can you possibly revitalize that area, attract business in it? Things are going to attract people to the square, so the small mom and pop shops make money. And I couldn't come up with a scenario because nobody wants to get down there. Back in the old school day, they get down there to do the banking. Oh, hey, let me go over to Donut Villa, I think it was called, at the time, and have coffee, and then they go to the newsstand and da-da-da. And there was a grocery store in there. But how do you overcome that at this point? Because that's the face of Everett as far as retail is concerned. I know the waterfront's going to be developed and all that, but that's it's a different nightmare in itself.
So one of the things that the old mantra is, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And so my view, and one of the things I talked about during the campaign, I do want to talk development with you I want to get into a little bit of development stuff with you. One of the things I talked about during the campaign was we had all this incredible development happening in the city of Everett, south of Route 16. But what was also happening was we were allowing for disproportionately sized projects to be built in our neighborhoods. And one of the things that my development team is aware of and working on is my end goal is to ensure that development in our neighborhoods is appropriate for our neighborhoods. And that the development along our main transit hubs like Route 16 and Broadway, et cetera, is appropriate for those hubs closer to the public transit. That's kind of in a nutshell, my development philosophy. But on Everett Square particularly, if you look at Everett Square, we've got to invest. So there's two things with Everett Square. There is an investment that's going to happen in Everett Square, which I'll note is going to enhance the outdoor aesthetics of Everett Square by doubling the size of the park that you would know as the Oliveira's restaurant, the Bouvier building in that area. It would double the size of the green space in Everett Square, make this more of a community gathering location. That's the first piece. So there's that, again, we talk about fixed cost. That's the investment side. And then on the other side, I've been having conversations with property owners in Everett Square about my vision for Everett Square. And one of the things we're actively doing right now is reconstituting a redevelopment authority, because I want to be able to fall on and use the redevelopment authority to guide our development vision, particularly for areas like Everett Square. like Glendale Square, our small downtown business sectors, right? The stuff south of Route 16 is a development unto its own, and it's breathtaking, and it's a 5 or 10 year play. But the stuff in Everett Square that is so important to me, if you look at Norwood Street today, it looks as it did 19 years ago or 20
South
years
is
ago.
New Everett and north is Old Everett.
Correct.
Okay.
And my issue is that what you refer to as Old Everett, meaning everything north of Route 16, hasn't really felt the direct benefit of what has happened south of Route 16. And I'm trying to reverse that by making more investments in our businesses in Everett Square to ensure that they can succeed, or that I can attract new businesses, new small businesses to Everett Square. You've got the Square Deli, for example, who, by the way, has, in my estimation, the best chicken parm sub on the face of the earth.
Lion.
But it's one of those situations where we have this thriving small business in Everett Square. Others should be able to feed, no pun intended, should be able to feed off of that. And that's the way my sort of vision for economic development is. That's how it is. It's a domino effect where if I have 2 or 3 successful businesses in the square, and the government invests properly in the infrastructure, it should take off. It should activate.
I couldn't come up with the right set of dominoes to make that work.
Yeah. I think it's a redevelopment authority. I think it's having open, frank conversations with property owners, and I think it's making the right infrastructure investments.
And you've got some state money coming in on the development too, right? And the squares, $1 million.
So the square project is predominantly funded through state grants, gaming commission grants. I think there's a Mass Works grant associated with it as well. It's predominantly funded through those grants. So even though the construction will happen and it's a $4 million project, the impact to taxpayers is almost zero.
Okay.
To local taxpayers.
I think it's important to note,
Correct. It's a worthy investment. When I was on the city council, I supported the same, a similar project, not an identical project. I supported a similar project. We re-engineered it slightly, got rid of the water feature, added a lighting feature, but the project itself is something that I've always been supportive of.
So when you talk about development plans and all that, another question that came to mind too, and correct me if I'm wrong. I want to learn a little bit about basically where the conversation is with the craft group and things like that as far as the stadium proposal is concerned. But second to that is, when I see these presentations, okay, yeah, great thing. They come in, they put up their chalkboards and all that, and talk to everybody. Don't take any questions. No dialogue, no back and forth. When I see all that going on, I find it to be almost ludicrous, because as far as I'm concerned, the community never got a say in this thing. Now, my question is, if I'm not mistaken, back in the campaign time, back when all this was actually festering, you were in favor of making that a ballot question, right? A state referendum, non-binding.
Correct. I had sponsored a resolution for a non-binding ballot initiative, really to get an expression of sentiment from the people of Everett, to understand kind of more where they stood on
right.
that
Exactly.
project.
Exactly. And I don't think they ever got the chance to express that for that reason and onwards. And then you go into these presentations and all that. But it leaves me with a bad taste in my mouth that says, like, they've basically made the decision. This is not a debatable thing, and we're going to go forward. It's almost like they're coming across, the city coming across the pretense, this is done. This is done. You don't have a say in the matter. And I really would like to see, at this stage, even if it's ain't going to go forward, that the residents start getting some direct input on this process. I mean, you got so many heavy concerns that are going to come up, and I don't want to get down in the weeds on that your traffic, your attendance, your community host agreements, and all that good stuff. Yeah, the community needs a say in all this stuff. To have these stand-up dog and pony shows, as I call them, put on by the craft group, and not casting any dispersions on yourself, it's almost an insult to the people. So I really, I would put it forward. So my question, in general is, how is the dialogue right now with the craft group? What do you see as the
Yeah,
next critical step?
I think it's it's always challenging to try to ensure that you're satisfying all the stakeholders, right? About not only engaging them, but allowing them to feel that their input has mattered or has impacted the sort of the final result of a particular project. Um,
Abraham Lincoln, right? Can't
yeah,
can't
yeah.
satisfy.
Just with respect to the craft proposal itself. So the the um, the 4 acre waterfront park associated with the stadium. There was a meeting a couple of weeks ago where residents and the public were allowed to come really look at
Right.
the schematic designs of the park as
Mhm.
it currently stands, to have input, to ask questions, to point out flaws. In fact, if you were here, or whoever had the opportunity to come, and I think there was, if I remember, because I was there were at least when I was in the room 60 people kind of walking around looking at these photos, and they were given the opportunity to mark each photo, what they liked, what they didn't like. So it's that kind of nuanced engagement that to me is important, and I recognize that the stadium process itself, some in the community may feel was not the most fully engaged process. The only thing I would point out right now, Walter, on that is um, that the stadium is currently going through its MEPA review at the state level. That's a very comprehensive process under the Environmental
Fine.
Protection Act.
Right.
And there are many opportunities for written input, for input on the project, for input on the scope and impact of the project. Um, that process is unfolding as we speak. So the residents have had that opportunity. I think on the park side, there'll be other opportunities for folks to also have input in the sort of layout, the design, the aesthetics, that type of thing. I don't think anyone disagrees that a waterfront park's a nice idea. The question is, what is it, and how do I get to it?
Well, it's a good use of money. It's a good
Correct.
use of funds.
Correct.
As you know, but again through other private conversation, and you talk about the MEPA process. I really, I'm so very curious on where Revolution Recycling, the old Schnitzer property, stands on this whole thing. They seem
Yep.
to be absent in the conversation, yet they're under a 2 point something $1 million agreement with Conservation Law Foundation, on cleaning up the situation down there. So I imagine one's going to impact the other, and I'd hate to see a couple of years worth of planning go into this thing, and then all of a sudden they walk in, they drop an injunction in court to stop the whole damn thing, and then Kraft walks away. Now you got 5 years wasted. You got developers that have walked away from a situation that could have been attracted in. So I'd really like to find out, where they stand and
Yeah.
what their role's going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. And my, just so you also know on this one, my philosophy has been to have conversations with all of the stakeholders, particularly down there, just as I do in Everett Square and throughout the community, all the stakeholders, to make sure that folks are on the same page, or at least rowing in the same direction. And if they're not, trying to figure out where are the touch points that need to be addressed in order to resolve any issues, to the extent they can be resolved.
Well,
Um,
fair warning to some folks. If this thing goes sour and goes real bad, it's going to end some political careers. It definitely will. Yeah, it's
I think and I think one of the things that people need to understand too is the the projects the projects have the ability to be um, truly sort of life altering for the community in terms of our industrial past versus what we can be in the future, which is
aggressive and
why
sustainable.
correct, which is why for me my responsibility is to try to implement as responsibly as I can um, some of the work I've inherited.
Okay, and another question, probably it's here. Better yet, it's probably another subject for another day, so to speak. But you have the city and you, as an administration, inherited a whole bunch of legal issues that your city solicitor is going to have to be going back and forth. So I don't want to really dive into individually any one of those, but did you come in with a plan to get a handle on all this litigation that's going on and try to, you know, put some of it to rest? Because, you know, as we said, you and I talked, the longer it goes on, the more expensive it becomes, especially if the judgment goes against the city on, you know, personal suits and things like that. So did you have a mindset on that? Are you actively looking to get a lot of this off of the calendars?
So you've known me, Walter, for how long? 30 years?
Yeah,
About.
come
You
on.
know me to be a bit of a methodical person. And so when I took office in the beginning, my first order of business was to install a top-notch city solicitor and who shared my values, who shared my ethics, who shared my sort of moral view of the world. And we were lucky enough to find Jacqueline Munson, who comes to us. She's a former deputy town council in Arlington,
Mhm.
and she has been flying at a high altitude since day one. And one charge that I gave her, which she is delivering on, is to identify every open claim against the city of Everett and work to resolve as many as possible to the extent they pose liability for us.
And to
She's
your credit, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
um, the position of city solicitor is not something that's it's near and dear to your heart for a reason.
correct, correct. So I'm a municipal attorney by training, and so to find someone of her caliber to me was critically important to make sure that all the residents of Everett, the taxpayers of Everett, were protected at all times, and that's what we're doing. So she's undertaken a comprehensive review of all claims in the solicitor's office. She's already worked to resolve some. She's continuing to work to resolve some. There are some significant claims pending against the city of Everett. We hope to resolve those in the near term. Also, claims which I inherited. We hope to resolve those in the near term. But that's the type of work that I wanted Jacqueline, someone of that caliber, to be working for,
Well,
to be.
my heart has multiple dogs in this race. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see the city get slapped, but I think there's a couple of people that really deserve justice. Uh,
Sure. I understand. Yeah, I understand that. And as mayor, my role is to protect the interest of the city of Everett
Absolutely,
as
absolutely. And,
as much as I can.
so, what are we looking at?
I'm not
You know,
asking.
what are our viewers gonna? What should they expect to see? Say in the next couple of months, that's going to make life better for them, coming
Yeah,
from the.
yeah, that's great. So I think continuing to build out my own leadership team. There are still some positions that uh, I would like to fill to ensure that I bring in top-notch quality municipal officials. So that's still going to be an ongoing exercise in this administration for the next several months. Some big items: school overcrowding.
Absolutely.
We're going to start having a very public conversation about our options to address school overcrowding. I have my ideas and my opinions about what that looks like. Um, and I want to hear from the people of Everett about that too over the coming months. So we're going to
Mhm.
start having a real robust, frank conversation as a community about how that problem, which affects every child in this community and their family, gets solved. That's
And
one thing to be on the lookout for in the next few months. Another thing I would say is for the next few months anyway. Um, as we head to the fall, I'm trying to put together a package of proposals to provide some relief for homeowners
mhm.
when the real estate tax rate, when the tax rate is set in the fall, whether it's enhancing our exemption, maybe thinking about the possibility of taxing at a premium vacant homes as a way to clean up some downtrodden neighborhoods right now, things of that nature. So that I would say for the next couple of months, school overcrowding is going to be a top priority, which it was in the campaign, and it will continue to be. Looking for tax relief for residents which is a balancing act, and I'm hoping that we can do something to provide some much needed relief to residents. And then on the development front, working with all of the big stakeholders south of Route 16 to make sure that those projects, if they are to be built, reflect the values of this city.
Well, on your proposals, your ideas, or even just the things you're contemplating, this channel is yours. If you need to push these ideas forward, you want to shop it around, you let me know, and I'll gladly set something up and you can discuss it. I was actually flirting with the idea, seeing if you want to have a little fun sometime, and I was going to get some of my readers to record a 1-minute question for you, and I'll send it over to you, and you can record the answer back on FaceTime, and I'll put them all together, and you can start answering some questions. But this other thing, like today's interview, naturally it'll be uploaded to YouTube, but I'm going to schedule it for a live, which is going to kick off a chat session on the side. Whether people will utilize it or not, but you may see some responses, some questions, some things like that come in. So my style here, my format, I'm going to try to be expanding and get more engagement, more lifetime engagement, or at least real-time engagement, from the community. So again, it's good feedback for you. It helps you govern the city and do things your way. Your Honor, and I know you laugh at me when I call you Your Honor or Mr. Mayor, and call me Rob or whatever. But I want to give you a throwback back to my days as VSO. I know that people used to joke with me and laugh at me because I always insisted on my title as being the Commissioner of Veteran Services. And nobody uses that anymore. But I'm very, very vested into the pomp and circumstances, but the respect that comes with the title. Those titles that are granted because people have positions of authority, positions of responsibility. And when you're conveying that respect to other colleagues and things like that through the use of those titles, I think it enhances the level of communication. I think it enhances the delivery of good city services, so to speak. So I'll call it a day unless you have any questions or anything else you want to throw in. What I am going to ask you, and I'll be a pain in the ass and chase you forward if you say yes. Anyway, you know that. But I'd ask you to loosely commit to come back, say around between Christmas and Thanksgiving, and give us an update as you come into your 1 year. And you can say happy holidays to everybody.
I can make that commitment. But as you know, unfortunately now, my scheduling is no longer my own. So you can certainly work through our communications department, through Kristen Leonard in my office, and we'll make it happen.
I know. For the viewers, the poor mayor, I broke his beans trying to get him on this show. I kept hitting him and everything else, but he knows I'm a well-meaning person, even though I am a natty son of a bitch. Okay. So I appreciate what you've done for the city, Your Honor, Mr. Mayor, and I look forward to talking to you again. It's always fun. I always enjoy it. And I just want to close with one question for you, for the viewers. Is when I was trying to get a hold of you a couple of times, the people told me you weren't around. I said, why not? And they said you were down in Aruba. And I don't know what that was all about. That's the end of the day, Mayor. Thank you very much. I wish you well, sir.
See you, Walter.
Talk to you.
Seeing you.
Every news when facts matter, no doubt. We shout the truth and lay it out. No cover-ups, no falsehoods in our place. Just honest reporting, setting the pace. While others soft pedal, we dig for the scoop. Giving you the facts and closing the loop. We don't dress it up, we don't look away. We call it like it is, come what may. Every news,